This is Highways and Byways.
Hey there. Welcome to this week's edition of Highways and Byways. I'm your host, Chris Carlisle. Last week's show got 7 views on YouTube. One of them I watched myself. Anyway, this week it's the story of the man named Cameron after a lawyer and his family are moving to a haunted mansion in Dallas. Baylor football beating Cal in 1953. But first, a look at news and sports. The remains of a World War II soldier from Belton, who was unaccounted for, will be brought back and buried in the North Belton Cemetery in October. The Temple High Band will celebrate its centennial next month. The Logistics Center in Temple, being built behind Buc-ee's, is expected to open by the end of the year. They put a multi-sensory lab for students with autism in Jefferson Elementary in Temple. They lifted the burn ban in Bell County on Friday after it rained, but then put it back on Monday after it got hot again. The MKNT depot in Katy had their grand opening on Saturday. They also had the Central Texas Area Model Train Show at the Mayburn Center. That was also last weekend. The Westphalia Market won 3 medals at a meat processing products show. And it's almost tamale season. The Belton ISD trustees gave approval to a book policy update. The Bell County Commissioners Court accepted $115,200 from a surplus auction. They're having the American Cancer Society Central Texas Brawl Brunch on October 10th from 11:30 in the morning until 1:30 in the afternoon. The theme this year is the 1980s. All proceeds will go to the American Cancer Society and the fight against breast cancer. My sister is involved with that. Her mother was a breast cancer survivor. I remember going to a Cowboys game one time where they honored some breast cancer survivors at halftime. The only time I ever went camping was when I was in the 6th grade, just towards the end of the school year. I went with the RA group from the First Baptist Church in Rosebud. We went to a ranch that was owned by a member of the church. I also went to a country music show in Milano one time. It had local folks singing. I remember one man singing some Merle Haggard and Hank Williams Jr. songs. Okay, well, in high school football action from last Friday, Chilton beat Hearn 19-13. Lake Belton beat Shoemaker 44-35. Belton High beat San Angelo Central 41-38. Troy beat Cypress Christian 23-14. Academy beat Slade with 55-28. Temple lost to Arlington Martin 55-41. That game was at Choctaw Stadium, which used to be Globe Life Park, which used to be Ameriquest Field, which used to be the ballpark in Arlington. Gatesville beat Mahia 44-16. Cameron lost to Belleville 56-22. Rockdale lost to Jim Ned 38-12. Holland beat Bremont 31-21. Granger beat Goldthwaite 34-6. Central Texas Christian beat Bryan Brazos 46-28. Jarrell lost to Hillsborough 75-44. Bartlett lost to Itasca 28-12. Buckles lost to Holy Trinity 54-6. In college football, Texas beat Wyoming 31-10. Texas A&M beat Louisiana Monroe 47-3. Baylor beat Long Island 38-7, and UMHB lost to Wisconsin Whitewater 17-14. Houston lost to TCU 36-13. In NFL Week 2 action, the Texans lost to the Colts 31-20, while the Cowboys beat the Jets 30-10. Here's a news segment called You Probably Didn't Know, that the city of Cameron is named after a man named Ewan Cameron. He was born in Scotland in 1811 and after immigrating to Kentucky, moved to Texas in 1836 following the Texas Revolution. Cameron took part in the Meyer expedition, which was a raid on the Ciudad Meyer on the Mexican border in late December of 1842. soon turned into the Battle of Meyer when the Mexican army got there. Cameron and other Texans were captured after casualties were inflicted on the other side. The Texan prisoners were blindfolded and made to draw beans from two jars. One had white beans, the other had black beans. The prisoners who drew the black beans were executed on March 25, 1843, in an incident known as the Black Bean Episode. Now, Cameron picked the white bean, which should have saved his life, but he had made a Mexican Colonel Antonio Canales Rosillo mad because of his role in embarrassing him in the defeat in the Battle of Fort La Panteon in Texas in July of 1842. Canales urged General Santa Anna to have Cameron executed. Cameron was shot by a firing squad on April 28, 1843, after orders for his execution from Santa Anna came while prisoners who had drawn the white beans were on their way to Mexico City. Not only is the city of Cameron named after him, but so is the Cameron County in Texas. I have a book called Tales of Texas Ghosts. It's written by Dosia Schultz Williams. In one of the stories, it's about a lawyer and his family who experienced the spirit of the owner of a mansion that they had bought in Dallas a year after the lady had passed away. The woman, whose name was Bertha McWhorter, despite her wealth, had worked as a manager of the hat department at Neiman Marcus in Dallas for a long time. I also have another book called Dave Campbell's Favorite Texas College Football Stories. One story is about Baylor beating California 25-0 on September 20th, 1953 in Berkeley. Leading the way was Baylor backfield and tackle James Ray Smith, who recovered a fumble on the Baylor 34 to stop a Cal draft. He also nailed a runner on a 2-4 thrust when Cal was knocking on the goal line from Baylor's 8. Quarterback Cotton Davidson completed 8 of 15 passes for 236 yards. He also threw a pass to Wayne Hopkins for 45 yards. L.G. Dupree scored Baylor's first touchdown on a 1-yard run. After Baylor stopped Cal on downs, they drove 92 yards for its second score. Dupree also recorded a California fumble in the second half kickoff at the California 35. 3 plays later, Jerry Cootie made Baylor's third score. The coach for Baylor at the time was George Sauer, and both teams were named the Bears. You have the Baylor Bears and the California Golden Bears. This must have been an article that Mr. Campbell wrote in the Waco Tribune Herald back then. Went on some sightseeing tours in Dallas and San Antonio. The one in San Antonio was on a double-decker bus. I don't remember if I ever talked about it here or on my other podcast, but when I lived in Houston, there was a pizza place called Pipe Organ Pizza. And it was named that because it had an actual pipe organ in it, and someone would play songs on it. I remember eating there a few times. It was in Memorial City Mall, just off of I-10. You ever go on Facebook where it says on the You Might Know part, and you scroll down to find old friends, people you may have forgotten, and you wonder, who are these people? Well, before I go, here's a quote from the 126th Psalm. It says, "They that sow in tears shall reap in joy." Well, I hate to leave you, but I have a lot of things to do. Be sure to hit the download button on whichever platform you listen on, hit the like button, and be sure to follow.